When a loyal man is betrayed, something deep within him shifts. It's not just that he's hurt. It's that the very foundation upon which he built his relationships, his trust, his faith in the people he cherished has been shaken. He's not the same after that. He can't be. Because loyalty, real loyalty, isn't some fleeting sentiment. It's not just a word to be thrown around lightly. It's a commitment, a principle, a way of life. And when that commitment is met with deception, with indifference, with betrayal, he doesn't simply shrug it off and carry on like nothing happened. No, he withdraws, he learns, and he changes. At first, the pain might make him feel like love itself is a risk he can no longer afford to take. He pulls back, not just from the person who hurt him, but from the world. He starts to question everything. Was he too naive, too open, too trusting? He replays the moments in his mind, looking for the signs he missed, the red flags he ignored. And this process, this deep, unsettling reflection, hardens him in ways even he doesn't expect. The warmth that once defined him, the generosity of his spirit, doesn't vanish entirely, but it becomes guarded, controlled. He doesn't give freely anymore. He measures his steps, his words, his affections. But here's the crucial thing. He does not become bitter. No, a truly loyal man does not allow betrayal to turn him into something he despises. He does not let the pain of being wounded turn him into a man who wounds others. Instead, he transforms. He elevates. He doesn't abandon love, but he refines his understanding of it. See, before, he may have loved blindly, giving without question, without limit, assuming that others carried the same integrity, the same depth of devotion that he did. But now, he sees love differently. It is no longer something he simply hands out to anyone who claims to care. It becomes something earned, proven, not just spoken, but demonstrated over time. And this shift doesn't mean he stops loving. It means he loves with wisdom. The next time he loves, it won't be the reckless love of someone who assumes the best in everyone. It will be the measured love of a man who has known deception and refuses to let it define him. He will watch patiently, observing actions rather than promises. He will listen not just to words, but to the spaces between them, the inconsistencies, the patterns, the moments where someone's true nature reveals itself. And when he chooses to give his heart again, it will be to someone who has earned that privilege, someone who understands that his love is not a game, not a convenience, but a responsibility. Because here's the truth. A loyal man is not afraid to love again, but he will never love the same way twice. He is no longer the man who loved without caution, without discernment. He is stronger now, wiser, more discerning. And if he does find someone worthy, someone who respects the depth of his loyalty rather than taking it for granted, he will give to them in ways most cannot even fathom. Because despite everything, despite the pain, the betrayal, the nights spent questioning his worth, he is still, at his core, a man who believes in love. And that is the real power of a loyal man. You cannot break him. You can wound him, you can shake his faith, you can make him question everything he once knew, but you cannot destroy him, because even in his pain, he rebuilds. Even in his doubt, he finds clarity. And even after betrayal, he still has the courage to love again. But this time, he loves not as a fool, but as a man who understands the true cost of giving his heart. So if you ever find yourself in the presence of a man like this, one who has been hurt but has risen above it, one who has learned the painful lessons of love but has not allowed them to harden him beyond recognition, understand what you are looking at. You are looking at a man who has walked through fire and emerged refined, not consumed. And if he chooses to love again, know this: it is no accident. It is no whim. It is a conscious decision, one he does not take lightly. And if you are given that privilege, do not squander it. Because a loyal man who has learned his worth will never again allow himself to be where he is not valued. When a loyal man is betrayed, something inside him fractures. He may not show it at first. He may carry on, keep his composure, and do what he has always done, endure. But the wound is there, deep beneath the surface, and it changes him. Because for a man like that, betrayal isn't just a moment of disappointment. It's a violation of everything he believed in, everything he stood for. It's a breaking of the unspoken contract that governed his relationships, one built on trust, on respect, on the unwavering commitment he was always willing to give. And when that contract is shattered, he cannot simply pretend it never happened. Forgiveness is a complicated thing for a man like this. He knows intellectually that holding on to resentment will only harm him. He understands that bitterness is a poison that eats away at the soul, that living with anger is no way to live at all. And so he wrestles with the idea of forgiveness, not because he is weak, but because he is principled. He doesn't want to become the kind of man who carries hatred in his heart. He doesn't want to be ruled by the pain of what was done to him. But at the same time, he cannot simply erase the betrayal as if it never occurred. See, forgiveness for him is not about pretending. It's not about blind reconciliation, about opening the door again to someone who has proven they cannot be trusted. No, forgiveness for a man like this is a private act, something he does not for the one who hurt him, but for himself. It is the choice to release the burden of resentment, to refuse to let another person's betrayal dictate his future. But make no mistake, while he may forgive, he will never forget. Because forgetting would mean disregarding the lesson. It would mean turning a blind eye to the truth that was revealed to him. And he is not a man who ignores the truth. If someone has shown him that they are capable of deception, of disloyalty, of treating him as disposable, he takes that knowledge and he integrates it. He does not deceive himself into believing they will change simply because he wishes they would. He does not hand them the same access to his heart, the same trust he once so freely gave. No, he adjusts. He learns. And this is where people misunderstand him. They mistake his refusal to forget as a sign of stubbornness, of coldness. They think that because he does not return to the way things were, he must still be holding on to anger. But that's not it at all. It's not anger that guides him, it's wisdom. He has simply seen too much, felt too much, to go back to a state of naive trust. He will no longer be the man who assumes the best in those who have shown him otherwise. And that change is not cruelty, it is self-respect. Now, that doesn't mean he becomes incapable of love or incapable of trust. It means that from this point forward, his trust is something that must be earned, not simply given. He will not allow himself to be placed in the same vulnerable position again. He will not allow himself to be manipulated by apologies that carry no action, by words that hold no weight. And those who truly care, those who are worthy of his presence, will understand this. They will see that his caution is not a barrier to love, but a refinement of it. Because if he ever lets someone back in, it will not be because they begged for forgiveness or because they made promises of change. It will be because they proved through consistent action that they were deserving of another chance. And if they cannot do that, if they believe that words alone should be enough, then they were never truly sorry. They only regretted losing the benefits of his loyalty. This is the quiet transformation of a loyal man who has been hurt. He does not seek revenge. He does not lash out. He does not become consumed by rage. But he does change. He becomes sharper, wiser, more discerning. He carries the lessons with him not as weights that drag him down, but as armor that protects him from ever being wounded in the same way again. And if someone believes that they can betray him and simply be welcomed back with open arms, they will find that the man they once knew is gone. When a loyal man is hurt, something fundamental inside him shifts. He is not the kind of man who walks into relationships lightly. He is not careless with his words, his time, or his devotion. When he chooses to stand by someone, to invest in them, to build with them, it is not a half measure. It is not a fleeting decision. It is a reflection of who he is at his core. His loyalty is an extension of his values, a commitment not only to the people in his life, but to the principles that guide him. And when that loyalty is met with betrayal, indifference, or deceit, he does not just walk away unchanged. No, he learns, he adapts, and most importantly, he elevates his standards. At first, it might look like he is retreating. He pulls back, distances himself, re-examines the way he has been operating. It's not because he no longer believes in connection, but because he refuses to be reckless with his heart. He recognizes now that not everyone deserves access to the depths of his loyalty. Not everyone has the integrity to handle it with care. And so he begins to demand more, not in a way that is arrogant or entitled, but in a way that is precise, intentional. He no longer entertains relationships built on potential rather than reality. He will not invest in the hope that someone will change, that they will one day rise to meet him where he stands. No, he observes what is in front of him, not what he wishes it could be. If someone's actions are inconsistent, if their words do not align with their behavior, if they treat his presence as an option rather than a privilege, he will not argue. He will not beg for respect. He will simply walk away, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity, because a man who has been hurt and has truly learned from it does not lower his standards to avoid loneliness. He understands that solitude is far superior to being in the company of those who do not value him. And this shift doesn't just apply to his relationships, it extends into every part of his life. His friendships, his career, his goals, everything is held to a higher standard now. He is done tolerating mediocrity, both in himself and in others. He refuses to surround himself with people who drain him, who do not challenge him to be better, who do not match his level of dedication and integrity. He will no longer be the man who stays in situations simply because he is comfortable. No, he seeks growth, purpose, alignment. This is what people often misunderstand about him. They think he has become too guarded, too selective, too difficult to please. But what they fail to see is that this transformation is not about becoming unapproachable. It is about becoming intentional. It is about refusing to settle for relationships that require him to shrink, to explain, to tolerate behavior that is beneath the man he is striving to become. He is not asking for perfection, but he is demanding reciprocity. If he gives loyalty, it must be met with loyalty. If he gives effort, it must be met with effort. Anything less is simply not worth his time. And the people who truly respect him, who understand his worth, will not see his standards as obstacles. They will see them as a reflection of his self-respect. They will not ask him to lower them. They will rise to meet them. Because a loyal man who has been hurt does not stop believing in love, in friendship, in the power of deep, meaningful connection. He simply refuses to waste his time on anything that does not align with the values he holds. So if you find yourself in the presence of such a man, understand what you are looking at. You are looking at a man who has been through fire and has come out refined. A man who no longer entertains what does not serve him, what does not uplift him, what does not honor the depth of his character. And if you are unwilling or unable to meet him at the level he now demands, do not expect him to bend himself to accommodate you. Because a man like this, once awakened to his own worth, will never again tolerate anything less than he deserves. Pain is a powerful teacher. It strips away illusion, forces confrontation with reality, and demands transformation. When a loyal man is hurt, he does not have the luxury of remaining the same. The betrayal, the disappointment, it changes him. But the question is never whether he will change. The question is how. He could let the pain consume him. let bitterness take root, let resentment harden his heart. He could allow himself to spiral into cynicism, to declare that loyalty is pointless, that trust is a fool's game. Many do. Many take the easy road of destruction, of tearing down rather than building up. But a man who truly understands himself, who refuses to let pain define him, takes a different path. He takes the fire and reforges himself in it. This kind of man does not waste time chasing revenge, does not wallow in self-pity, does not let the betrayal of another determine the course of his life. Instead, he asks himself a simple but difficult question: what now? He takes the energy of his pain and redirects it toward growth. He looks inward, identifies the weaknesses that made him vulnerable, sharpens his mind, strengthens his discipline. He becomes someone who cannot be broken so easily again. He builds himself into something greater, not out of anger, but out of necessity. Because what is the alternative? To stay wounded? To carry the weight of betrayal like a permanent burden? No, that is not the way forward. That is a slow death. So he works. He works on his body, because he knows that strength is not just of the mind, but of the flesh. He works on his mind, because knowledge is armor and wisdom is the blade that cuts through deception. He works on his purpose, because he refuses to let pain be the most significant thing in his life. He channels his suffering into something meaningful, into his craft, his career, his vision of the future. He becomes sharper, more focused, more relentless in his pursuit of excellence. And through this process, something remarkable happens. He realizes that the betrayal, the pain, the disappointment, it did not break him. It shaped him. You have to understand something fundamental. There is a version of you buried deep inside that is far more capable, more disciplined, more powerful than the person you are right now. And the only thing standing between you and that version of yourself is the weak, comfortable, excuse-making identity you refuse to let go of. Every day you have a choice. Do you continue to entertain the same patterns that have kept you stagnant? Or do you make the difficult decision to evolve? Because transformation isn't a passive process. It's a war. And the enemy, the weakest parts of you that cling to old habits, fear discomfort, and settle for mediocrity. The problem is, most people have no idea what they're actually capable of because they've never been forced to find out. They've never been pushed to the edge of their limits. They've never truly committed to something so deeply that failure wasn't an option. And that's why they stay stuck. They get comfortable with their excuses, their distractions, their patterns of avoidance. They lie to themselves, saying they'll change when the timing is right, when life gets easier, when motivation strikes. But that moment never comes, does it? Because deep down, change terrifies them. The idea of letting go of who they've always been, of stepping into uncertainty, of facing their own inadequacies, it's overwhelming. So they stay where it's safe, never realizing that safety is the very thing suffocating them. But here's the truth. Growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. It's supposed to break you apart and force you to rebuild. It's supposed to challenge every part of you that resists discipline, rejects responsibility, and avoids hardship. And the only way to unleash your true potential is to make a deliberate, ruthless decision to kill the version of yourself that has held you back for so long. That means walking away from your bad habits, your self-imposed limitations, your dependence on external validation. It means silencing the voice in your head that tells you you're not ready, that you're not good enough, that you should wait for the perfect conditions before you take action. You don't need more time. You don't need more motivation. You need a deep, unwavering commitment to the higher version of yourself. And that commitment is forged in discipline, not feelings. You wake up and do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. You push yourself beyond what's comfortable, beyond what's familiar, beyond what's easy. Because easy has never changed anyone. You train your mind to seek challenge rather than avoid it. You train your body to endure discomfort rather than run from it. You train your spirit to stand firm in the face of adversity rather than crumble under pressure. That's how you access your true potential. And understand this. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. No one is responsible for your transformation except you. The world doesn't owe you success, fulfillment, or happiness. Those things must be earned, and they're earned through sacrifice. You have to be willing to give up who you are today for who you could become tomorrow. And that's not an easy thing to do. It requires letting go of attachments, burning the bridges that lead back to old versions of yourself, and embracing a level of discipline most people will never have the courage to develop. But that's the cost. And the question is, are you willing to pay it? Because if you are, everything changes. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. Your presence commands respect, not because you demand it, but because you've become the kind of person who naturally earns it. Your mind sharpens, your body strengthens, your willpower solidifies. And suddenly the things that once seemed impossible, the dreams you doubted, the goals you feared, become inevitable. Not because they got easier, but because you got stronger. So stop waiting, stop hesitating, stop clinging to the parts of yourself that no longer serve you. Make the decision now, once and for all, to step into the highest version of yourself. Because on the other side of that decision is everything you've ever wanted. And the only thing standing in your way is you. There is a dangerous illusion that many people fall into, a way of thinking that strips them of their power and locks them in a cycle of stagnation. It's the victim mentality, the belief that life is unfairly happening to you, that you are merely a product of your circumstances, that your failures, your setbacks, your struggles are the fault of something or someone else. And it's seductive, isn't it? Because if you convince yourself that you're powerless, then you're no longer responsible for the condition of your life. You don't have to change. You don't have to improve. You don't have to face the discomfort of taking control. But here's the truth. Every moment you indulge in that mindset, you make yourself weaker. You strip yourself of the very thing that separates those who rise from those who fall. Accountability. The people who achieve, who build, who transform, they don't waste time blaming others. They don't waste energy complaining about what's unfair. They take full ownership of their reality, no matter how difficult, no matter how painful, no matter how much it would be easier to shift the blame. And you have to ask yourself, what kind of life do you want? Do you want to stay trapped in the same cycle? Constantly feeling like the world is against you, that your success depends on circumstances beyond your control? Or do you want to wake up every day with the understanding that no matter what has happened to you, no matter what obstacles stand in your way, you have the power to change, to grow, to build something better? Because that power exists whether you acknowledge it or not. It's just a matter of whether you're willing to claim it. And this isn't about dismissing struggle. It's not about pretending life is fair. Life isn't fair. Some people are born into better circumstances than others. Some people face greater hardships than others. That's reality. But your circumstances do not define your potential. Your response to them does. And if you choose to believe that you are helpless, if you choose to believe that you are at the mercy of your past, your environment, or the opinions of others, then you will stay exactly where you are. But the moment you decide to take responsibility, everything changes. Because now, you're no longer waiting for something external to fix your life. You're not waiting for permission, for approval, for someone to come along and make things easier. You realize that no one is coming to save you. And that realization is not despair, it's freedom. Because now you know it's up to you. And if it's up to you, that means you have control. That means you have the ability to shape your future. But accountability isn't comfortable. It requires you to admit where you've been making excuses. It forces you to confront your weaknesses, to acknowledge where you've fallen short. And that's hard. Because the truth is, sometimes the reason you're not where you want to be isn't because of bad luck, or because life is unfair, or because someone else held you back. Sometimes it's because you didn't do the work, because you let fear dictate your decisions, because you wasted time seeking validation instead of building something meaningful. And that realization stings. But it's necessary, because until you own your failures, you cannot claim your success. And here's the paradox. When you stop blaming others, when you stop making excuses, when you take full responsibility for every aspect of your life, you don't become weaker, you become stronger. You become the kind of person who can handle adversity, who can adapt, who can take setbacks and use them as fuel rather than as reasons to quit. You develop the mindset that no matter what happens, no matter what challenges arise, you will find a way forward. And that kind of person is unstoppable. So, stop looking for someone to blame. Stop waiting for life to be fair. Stop clinging to the illusion that your struggles absolve you from responsibility. Step up, own your life, take control. Because the second you do, the second you stop making excuses and start making changes, you will realize that you were never a victim at all. You were always capable. You just had to decide to act like it. There's something lurking beneath the surface of your life, something you avoid, something you bury under distractions and excuses. It's the part of you that's afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of stepping into the unknown. It's the voice that whispers doubt into your mind, that convinces you to stay exactly where you are because venturing forward feels too risky. And so you settle into comfort. You make peace with mediocrity. You create a life that feels safe, predictable, and familiar, but deep down you know something is missing. You know you're capable of more, but you don't dare to confront what's holding you back. That's the nature of fear. It thrives in avoidance. It grows in the shadows, feeding on hesitation, gaining strength every time you choose to turn away from the difficult things in your life. And the more you avoid it, the more power it has over you. You begin to construct your life around it, making decisions based on what's least threatening rather than what's most meaningful. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. I'll take the risk when I'm ready. I'll change when the time is right. But the time is never right. And as the years go by, you realize something terrifying. Your comfort has become your prison. Because comfort is deceptive. It feels good in the moment, but over time it dulls you. It strips you of your ambition, your drive, your hunger for something greater. It sedates you, keeping you in a state of passive existence rather than active living. And the worst part, it disguises itself as contentment. You convince yourself that you're fine, that you don't really need to push yourself, that it's okay to settle. But deep down, there's a gnawing sense of unease, a quiet voice reminding you that you were meant for more. And that's where the battle begins, because if you want to become something greater, if you want to break free from the limits you've placed on yourself, you have to be willing to face what you fear the most.